Hello everyone. Yes, everyone. Although particularly the Kickstarter backers of In Search of Hannibal, the graphic novel on which I and Chris Steininger, the artist, have been working for quite some while now. And Christmas is coming and some of you are getting quite excited. You're thinking, oh, maybe the graphic novel will be out in time for Christmas. Will it? Will it? Will it? And I can now tell you that no, it won't be. So I know it's been a whole year, but thank you so much to everyone for your continued interest and your admirable patience. But since it is coming up to Christmas, we thought we'd reward you with prizes and giveaways and competitions, if that's all right. Now, that we do have some explanations for why we are quite so late. It didn't help, for instance, that Chris Steininger, who was living when we first hatched this scheme in Germany, had to emigrate in a hurry. Don't worry, he hadn't committed a serious crime or messed with the wrong gangsters or anything, but for very mundane bureaucratic reasons he had to emigrate, and he went to Canada. And there he had to find a home, buy a home, move into it, make it livable. And you can imagine that obviously ate into the time rather badly. And it didn't help when he then later fell down the stairs of that home and broke his back. He's fine, by the way, he's absolutely fine now. But again, it didn't exactly speed comic book production. And then later, one of his hard drives crashed dramatically, taking with it an awful lot of the pictures and data that he'd been working with. He was able, after a couple of weeks' frantic work, to recover most of it, so that's all right. But again, it didn't really help. But despite all that, that's not really the main reason. The main reason is everything is just taking longer than we thought. I have to blame myself. You see, what comic book writers normally write is something like Spider-Man punches Dr. Octopus. Next panel, Dr. Octopus flies into a wall. Big close-up of Dr. Octopus's face. Grr, I'll get you for that, Spidey, says Dr. Octopus, and so forth. And that sort of stuff, if you're a good comic book artist, you can dash that out in no time. But what I tend to write is things like 30 senators are on the top of the Capitoline Hill in Rome, looking east. We see a spectacular view of the city in smoke rising from the many buildings. They are there with their various attendants, lictors and slaves, and, well, you can imagine it takes rather a lot longer to draw that. First, you've got to try to work out what the Capitoline Hill would have looked like in that period and what looking east from that viewpoint would have looked like, and then he'll draw a rough version of that and he'll send it to me, and then I'll say, actually, no, that building hadn't been built yet in this period, and then I'm going to have to change that, and it goes back and forth a few times. Then he has to go to all the trouble of drawing all those people and all those buildings and so forth, and then he goes on to the next panel, which is, meanwhile, Hannibal is speaking to 40,000 of his troops. Oh boy, okay, here we go. Head, shield, arm, body, spear, right leg, left leg, belt, shading. 1. Head, body, shield, spear. This is going to take a while. So I'm terribly sorry, both to Chris for writing such an awkward script to draw, and to the rest of you for causing everything to take so flipping long. But to reward you for your admirable patience, we shall be distributing the contents of this box which I've been sent all the way from Canada land, or as clearly it should be called, Canada. Now this is actually the closest I've ever come to meeting Chris, because I am now touching a thing that he has touched, and it feels like, well, it feels like cardboard, because we've never actually met. It's all been done thanks to Skype and email. Now, the contents of this is original art, yes, original art, and t-shirts. And I'm now going to open this in front of your eager, gleaming eyes, because I've been saving this for this moment. I have not cheated and looked into this myself, and so I will be seeing the art for the first time, just as you will be. Now, you may be wondering, how could you possibly get your hands on something so spiffing and marvellous as original art drawn by Chris Steininger, the famous comic book artist, for In Search of Hannibal? Well, since so many of the backers have been so wonderful in backing us in the first place and so patient in waiting for us to finish the flipping thing, we decided that to reward those, they don't have to do a thing. Yes, if you're one of the backers on Kickstarter, then just sit back and hope that your name gets drawn out of the hat. And so we'll be giving original art away to Kickstarter backers. But others of you may be thinking, well, I feel a little left out here because I wasn't one of the original Kickstarter backers. And others of you may think, well, I was a Kickstarter backer, but I'm not lucky, I'm not going to win. If only there was some way using wit and intelligence and skill that I could get my hands on some of these wonderful prizes. Well, do you know, there is. And I'll talk about how you could go about that in a moment. So I can see there's a t-shirt here. I shall take it out and show you it. Those people who backed and went for the Hannibal t-shirt option have already been given their t-shirts, and you can see on the front there's an elephant design there. That's not actually from the comic. Chris decided he wanted to draw something that was unique to the t-shirt, and in the spirit of the heavy metal touring band, we've got on the back Hannibal and the various tours, the Second Punic Tour, and he asked me for a list of dates and lots of the battles. And so I gave him a list of all the battles of the Second Punic War, and it was rather a long list, and it would have been very, very tiny writing. So, okay, just the ones where Hannibal was the leader, but even that was really quite a long list. So it's a slightly cut down list of the tour dates. And you see, oh, Rome was cancelled. But apart from that, pretty successful tour by Hannibal. So if you want to get your hands on a t-shirt, you can buy luck or skill. That's just another one. And now the original art, which I shall take out very carefully and gingerly because I don't want to harm any of it. It's I think that's just a blank piece of paper to wrap it, and then the works themselves are in. Fingers crossed this arrives safely. Hannibal, Chris. Okay, so here we go. Some original, look at that, original art. And this, you notice, is in black and white because he's colouring it mostly, not entirely, but he's colouring it mostly using computers. But this is actual hand-drawn, inked on paper artwork. And so there we can see there's some people here going through the Arnus marshes here. That's one part of the story, which often gets overlooked. Hannibal, yes, he went across the Alps, everyone knows, but then later he did another amazing march, catching the Romans by surprise by going through a load of marshes, and so that had to go in the book. And so some lucky winner will get that. I'm going to take this out very carefully. I'm going to do this on the floor because I want to do this very carefully for reasons that I think you'll understand. What else we've got? Right. Oh, here we have a scene from the Battle of the Trebia, and got loads of cavalry there galloping towards the edge of a river. What will happen next? Oh, spectacular cliffhanger moment there at the end of that page. Well, you'll have to buy the comic to find out what does actually happen next. Again, I shall put that down very carefully. Okay, here we have a prisoner tied up in a cell, and there's a conversation. The speech bubbles are missing here. The speech bubbles, like the colour, get added digitally later. Oh, here we have some Willites. You see he's got the wolfskin head there. I did point out that the glass eyes in the wolf heads, which are often depicted, making them look like works of taxidermy, are probably unrealistic, and those wouldn't be teeth, but they could have had just a piece of leather painted to look like the wolf's head, the wolf's teeth. And that's on the way to the Battle of Trasimene. They're marching there towards going into battle. And oh, here we have another scene from the march on the Arnus marshes. Okay, so that's 5 pieces of artwork. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I've decided that I want one because I haven't got one. So I'm going to keep one, if that's all right. But we'll give 2 away to backers, and so they don't have to lift a finger. Now, how can you get your hands on one of these if you're not lucky or weren't one of the original backers? Well, you can go to the Lindybeige Facebook page and you can join that. And don't worry, it's not a lifelong binding commitment. You can always leave later if you don't like it. But I hope you do, and I hope you stay. And then you can enter the In Search of Hannibal caption competition. So what I shall do is I shall post on that page a load of pictures like these, and you can think up a caption to go with these pictures. You can add speech bubbles in graphic form if you like, or come up with some other way of doing the caption. It's up to you, and it doesn't have to be terribly funny. I suspect that comedy is likely to win the prizes, but maybe you come up with something historically illuminating or touching or whatever. It's a caption competition. I do not wish to stifle your creativity. Have fun with it. So what you must do is send in posts to the page with one, I'll say that again, one caption. Don't put several captions because people are going to vote, you see, and I need to know which one they voted for. So if you put more than one in a post, that won't work. But there's nothing, you can put in a caption to every single one of the pictures if you want, but just do it in separate posts. And then my hope is that this will work in a semi-automated way, in that people looking at them will decide that they particularly like some of them and will click like on those that they particularly like. And so the ones that become most popular, that loads of people agree are really funny or clever or illuminating or touching or whatever it is, will rise to the top. And I need only judge from just a few finalists. Which does mean, of course, that if you're one of the voters, please don't, if you like all of them, click like on all of them. To just click like on the ones that you particularly like, because if you like all of them, I've learned nothing. So there you go. Go to the Lindybeige Facebook page. There's a link in the description, or one probably appearing on your screen now. Who knows? I haven't edited this yet. I always find it difficult to say. And then you can possibly win some of this marvellous art. And wouldn't that be grand? Yes, I've pretty much got to the end now. So yes, we are late. Yes, we are terribly sorry. Yes, it is our fault. But on the other hand, yes, it's looking pretty good.